Well, what a day it is to be a wrestling fan. I mean, just had an amazing weekend, as Kenny Omega proved once again. He could be the best wrestler of all time. In a few hours, WWE Raw is officially moving to Netflix. And literally, just before I sat down to make this video, WWE posted the cold opening that is going to air before that show. And I promise you this, we will return tomorrow, if you are watching this on Monday the 6th. And I think we are going to have a lot to talk about. But there was another huge piece of news that dropped Sunday, which is what I wanted to sit down and discuss today, because The Rock made it very clear we ain't doing no surprises this time. He is going to be in the Inuit Dome, I believe it's called, for this episode of Raw, and that shouldn't come as a surprise. I know there's been a back and forth. Is he going to be at WrestleMania? Is he not going to be at WrestleMania? I would dare say that still hasn't been confirmed. To be completely honest, we need to see what he is going to do on this episode of Raw. And I'm kind of surprised that there is this back and forth. But anyway, it's fun to talk about, and it's fun to speculate for obvious reasons, but it's The Rock. This is the way that it's been for the last 15 years, probably longer, or whenever it is. He has a movie schedule that he has to try and keep. He is even a bigger star than just outside of that, because he has so many projects he is doing. WWE is just one of them, and I'm sure he would love to dedicate as much as time possible to pro wrestling. But we know, we learn, we are like robots, we put this information in our heads, and we should use that to dictate the future. So as far as I'm concerned, maybe he will be at WrestleMania, maybe he won't be at WrestleMania. But if he is going to be in Las Vegas, it is so interesting to actually try and figure out what he is going to do, because theoretically, you can go in two very specific directions. Now, if you had asked me before he had done that post, I would have said it has to be The Rock versus Cody Rhodes. Because, of course, the last time we saw The Rock, he dropped the F-bomb on Raw. I was there live for that, and I don't think enough people talk about this. Obviously, I've watched it back, and you do get the reaction coming from the TV, but it was nothing. Like, if you were in the building, it was one of those shocking things that has ever happened. I don't even know why. I guess we weren't expecting it. But he did pass something to Cody. He whispered something in Cody's ear. We need to know what the object was, and to this day, nobody actually knows. I think the best idea I heard, or the best guess, is that maybe it was a part of the Ula Fala, and it was The Rock telling Cody, I'm in charge of this nonsense, so no matter what happens with this bloodline, I won't be around, so it's all kind of second fiddle anyway. And that may actually tie into what option number 2 is, because again, go and read that post now. It is all about his Samoan heritage. It's all about his Samoan name. I think there's sort of mentions of tribes and chiefs. I don't think there's anything ahead of the table there, but that's certainly the direction it's leaning in. And of course, what's happening on Raw in a few hours, we are getting the Tribal Chief Combat match. That's not what it's called. That's what I've decided to call it. And the winner gets the Ula Fala, as Paul Heyman told us on, what was it, Solo? One of them told us on SmackDown, there's going to be a winner, and there's going to be a loser. And I was like, thanks, guys. I wouldn't have been able to work that one out if you hadn't have said the other one, said the polar opposite. But it makes all the sense in the world to me that Roman Reigns can win the Ula Fala, and then The Rock comes out. I think you may get a turn from Paul Heyman. Not that you may, you could do this. You get a turn from Paul Heyman after the fact, and Roman is kind of left on an island all by himself, the island of loneliness, I suppose. And The Rock reveals that he's been in control of the Bloodline 2.0 from the beginning. And then when you do want to get to CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, which again was on the cards at some point, but if The Rock is working at WrestleMania, you move that to one side. Then the Paul Heyman doing this could be the catalyst for it, because I do believe that when you do that feud, Paul Heyman is going to be in CM Punk's corner. That's just the feeling that I get. I could be totally wrong. And you don't have to do that, right? That's an as a side. But I have now, look, he may not do anything. He may just come out to cut a promo, which is still a big deal. And I could understand why he did that. Like, if he comes out and he's more Dwayne The Rock Johnson than he is the final boss, The Rock, then you know he's just there to kind of drum up some hoopla, which again makes all the sense in the world. He is a proper super duper whooper megastar. But I don't think he is going to do that based on what he did post on Instagram and the rest of social media. So yes, I think Roman Reigns will win the Ula Fala. He will come out. He will take that away from Roman and be like, oh, you don't deserve it. When the Bloodline 2.0 probably jump Roman Reigns, and we finally do the big reveal that The Rock is in charge of the Bloodline 2.0, and he is disgusted at Roman for what he did at WrestleMania, hence why he handed the Ula Fala to Cody to say, ha ha, he, you shouldn't have done it. Now, that kind of works, because you cannot do both. I know, simple maths here. You cannot both do The Rock versus Cody and The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And as of last week, and there was enough smoke here to make me believe that there is a fire, or the other way around, whatever we say, the WWE was quite excited about doing John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE title, which I totally understand. That is like putting Barney the dinosaur against Mr. Rogers, or something like that. Just two wonderful people that the fans are invested in, but that's the whole reason why I think we should do it. These are the fun kind of matches that we never thought we'd see. Who is the fans going to get behind? Who are they not going to get behind? Do we actually have the balls to give John Cena his 17th world title win by beating Cody Rhodes? Does Cody get forced to turn heel? If not, can he turn back again? These are all the amazing questions I like to ask about wrestling because, again, that's where the entertainment is. I love Cody Rhodes. He is one of my favorite wrestlers. But if he does wind up in a position where he has to be bad guy for a while, great. That's what wrestling should do. It should be malleable. That's not a word, but I think it is actually. But it should be, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember. But it should be able to change on a whim. You should never be tied to anything if all of a sudden you feel the flow of the sea heading off in a different direction. And actually, that was the biggest problem that WWE had for years. They ignored all that, and it took away the majesty of pro wrestling. And who knows, maybe people turn on John Cena. I can't believe it because he's reached that upper echelon where you just love the man for all the legendary stuff he did do for this business. One of the best of all time. No doubt about it. But I think if you could headline WrestleMania 41 with The Rock versus Roman Reigns, which is a match that people wanted to see, even though the vast majority were happy that we pivoted to Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns and we got rid of The Rock and put him in the tag team match, there were others that were like, oh man, what have we done? I wanted to see The Rock versus Roman Reigns. So you could get that. And on the other night, you get Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. The big argument there is what goes on Saturday and what goes on Sunday. And I guess it depends whether the World Heavyweight Championship is in play for The Rock versus Roman Reigns, but it doesn't need to be. For starters, The Rock has that People's Championship, which has to be used as a bullet at some point, but also the Ulafala, I can't pronounce it, would be up for grabs again. And WWE, like there was all that chat, we did a video on it, that oh my gosh, we may be introducing a Tribal Chief Championship. You don't need to. The reason we have championship belts is because that's what sports did, that's what boxing did, and wrestling just nicked it. We have basically told you that in the world of the bloodline, the Ulafala is the most important thing, right? That is what everybody goes on to. That is what it means to be the head of the table, the head of the family, and all of that. So that is a title. It is a prop to be fought for, right? So you could put that on the line. You could put the Rock's People's Champion on the line. Again, why else invent it otherwise? And then you just backs up WrestleMania even more and gives it incredible depth. It would be rough on CM Punk and Seth Rollins, but they certainly could end their feud for the World Heavyweight Championship at that WrestleMania. The only thing is we need a third night because I cannot stand this idea that if you close the show on Sunday, you didn't main event WrestleMania. Yes, you did. WrestleMania is so big now. You think they're going to put some Fruit Loop match there? Of course they're not. Well, actually, if John Cena's there, it will be a Fruit Loop match. But the point is, it has to be something that has gravitas. Otherwise, WrestleMania doesn't work. WrestleMania Night 1 last year was The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. The year before, it was Kevin Owens versus Steve Austin. If you don't think Steve Austin coming back is WrestleMania main event worthy, I'm going to find you and give you a hug because I'm a very nice person and I wouldn't dare do anything else. But that's not in my world, right? It just doesn't count at all. Getting to that position means you're a star. But I get it. There's still going to be politics. You still want to close the show because that's the mentality of an athlete and that's the mentality of a sportsman or a performer. But that's neither here nor there. They can all go crazy politics backstage and figure it out amongst themselves. I would just feel a little bit sorry for Seth Rollins and CM Punk because they'd be like so close so far, especially because CM Punk's the guy who's like, legends keep coming back and stealing my spot, which is what this could be. Now, that's a nerd conversation to be had. Looking at it from a fan point of view, if you did have Seth Rollins versus CM Punk on that card, as well as Gunther versus Goldberg, which I'm going to get to in just 1 second, then WrestleMania 41 has the makings of an all-time show. In fact, we'll jump into it right now. The reason I did bring that in is I think that Goldberg has been confirmed for the show later. He's also going to be in Atlanta in a few weeks. And if you are going to do all of these things that we've talked about, and we need to take that belt off Gunther, then I don't see a problem in Goldberg screwing Gunther over at some point in one of his championship matches. I know it's a bit lame. I know people are going to get super duper mad about it, but the reason I think it's important is because Seth Rollins could be in that match with Gunther or a CM Punk. Whoever wins tonight basically can go after the World Heavyweight Championship. Goldberg then gets involved. He costs Gunther. Let's just say it's Seth Rollins. He's a champion. And then we do CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania for that championship, which Seth Rollins or CM Punk now has. Very daring, again, because people do like Gunther. There is a contingent that do not like Goldberg, so Goldberg could get booed. But I think everybody walking in the door in 2025, no matter what the company, should just be up for crowd, do what you want, and I'm a big enough pro and I'm a good enough talent that I will just ride it out, right? And I will pivot as and when needed, because then again, I'm going to repeat myself, that is when wrestling is at the most fun. But all things down the pipe and who we do have, and I think WWE would love to do Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. I think that would be a harder match for Triple H to be talked out of, because he did an interview recently and said the card's basically done, and it's been done since October, but we are ready to change depending who wants to come or who gives me a call. And The Rock Roman being for the Ulafala, as long as you have a promo segment between Cody and The Rock where they say, oh, it was a piece of this necklace, then that actually makes sense. Because it wasn't actually The Rock saying, I'm coming after you. It was just so you know, here's the deal with the bloodline, and I'm watching over it. At least that's the insinuation that Cody may have gotten. Now, does bring up the question that WWE must have changed plans at some point because it was The Rock that pinned Cody on that Saturday Night WrestleMania. But does anybody remember that now, apart from geeks like me? No, they do not. So this is the reason that I would like The Rock to be involved from now till WrestleMania, even if it's on a sporadic level. Because I think getting all those matches on one show, again, I've just named 4, which is, we'll do it again, CM Punk, Seth Rollins for a title does make it cooler. Gunther versus Goldberg, I'm a Goldberg fan. He shouldn't win, but I think that match would be super fun. The Rock versus Roman Reigns is box office, as is John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. But also, Charlotte Flair is going to be back soon, so you could do Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton, really. And there is something in that, especially for quote-unquote hardcore fans. And the rumor mill seems to suggest heavily that when Becky Lynch comes back, she could be feuding with Rhea Ripley, and I'm all down for that too. Do it again at WrestleMania. People are like, oh, we can't do it again. Flub, you can't. They're the 2 biggest stars in the company. Just build it, right? And actually, it would be harder for Becky this time. Not harder, because she's so damn good at her job. But it would be different, because before, she was playing the face, whereas now you can't do that against Rhea. People love Rhea, as they should. So we could probably go throughout the card, which we will do again soon, and realize what we are building here. But the more stars we can get on the show, the bigger I think WrestleMania is going to be. And fingers crossed, CM Punk can get his WrestleMania event next year. But again, if The Rock's not on there, what do you pivot back to? Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, absolutely a main event worthy match too. So no problem with all this stuff being in flux, no problem with The Rock coming and going and trying figuring it out, because I just don't think we can lose, right? You can talk about the whole politics of the situation, but that is just wrestling. But when you are in this position as somebody who is watching and just wants the best quality content as possible, again, you give me Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, I'm on board. You give me Roman Reigns versus The Rock, and we could get a match that we're talking about for a long old time, which is the same for Punk anyway, because that's what Punk does. He's like a lightning rod. So if somebody put a gun to my head first, I'd say, calm down, dude. I talk about this for a living. You don't have to threaten to kill me. I do totally believe that WrestleMania 41 probably be Cody versus John Cena on Saturday night, because I think The Rock and Roman are better at stirring the pot backstage. But who's going to get mad at that, right? Even though a championship wouldn't be on the line, which certainly would create some conversation in certain corners of the internet. Please, man, let's do it. Let's keep this chat going. Finishing off the whole thing with The Rock versus Roman Reigns, which could be The Rock's last match ever. Like it really could, once he's done that match with his cousin and tied it into all his family stuff. While I'm sure he would love to make a comeback at some point, could draw a line under it. And of course, we all know the deal. We all know how many doors he opened. But then you have to get into the other back and forth too. Does John Cena win that championship? I actually like the idea. We've said this. Originally, I put it against Gunther, but it could be against Cody. John Cena should try and win this championship, fail, and then whoever the flub the champion is in December, let Cena retire winning the WWE title. I know, oh, he should give back to the business. He's given back to the business, believe you me. And just the way that Sting went out and Bryan Danielson to a lesser degree, he did go out like that, but then we just carried on a little bit and he got murdered by John Moxley. That's what happened. But I just think if anyone deserves to sort of win and then retire, especially with the record in hand, it would be somebody like John Cena. But again, we can speculate to our heart's content. I'm very excited about now till WrestleMania, which is still 4.5 months away. Just in case. Is it February, March, April? 3.5 months away. Excuse me. That's a long time. Also, what are we going to do with Randy Orton? He's got to come back too. I guess Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. We could do Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn as well. I'm getting ahead of myself. The point is The Rock makes all of this better because he comes and goes and you can shift things around. Everybody wins anyway. Now, listen, please do click the video on the screen if you are watching this on Monday, because it is my predictions for later. Let's see how rubbish I am at this game. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. Please do leave a comment below and just interact with everything as much as possible. The video is sponsored by Gorilla Mind, and if you go there and use code Simon, you get 10% off. Again, all these links are down there. Simon Miller 316 on social media. I'm on Pro Wrestling Tees, I'm on Cameo, I'm on TikTok. Search for my name and I will be there. But more importantly, I'm going to be a bit of an over-the-top Nelly here. I do think it's going to be a new era for WWE later, so let's all get on the train and have a good time. I will see you tomorrow, whenever the next time you click play on a video that features me.